Part 7, graphing equations. Well, in this section, we're really just going to kind of focus on the general graph sketches, okay? But for starters, in question 32, it says if r equals c minus x to the n power times t was graphed on an r versus t graph, what would the following be? What would the slope be? What would the y-intercept be? Well, I want you to think about this. If it's asking us about slope and y-intercept, this is implying that this is a linear function. So we'll take y equals mx plus b, and we're going to match it with this because y is on the, r is on the y-axis, and t is on the x-axis. Okay, so now how do we do that? Well, r equals c minus x to the n over t. We're going to reorder this. We're going to write it as r equals negative x to the n times t. Oops, x to the n times t plus e. Now, if you, sorry, let me just write that a little neater. Negative x to the n times t plus c. There we go. So if we section it off piece by piece, there's the y, there's the x. This must be now your slope. So your slope has to be negative x to the n power. This must be your y-intercept, c. Question 33. On the y versus x graphs below, sketch the relationships given. Okay, so sketch a line. If m is positive, that means the line slants upwards, right? And b equals 0. That means through the origin. That would be a line that looks just like this. We have a line where the slope is now negative, so it's going to slant this way. And the y-intercept is positive. Well, that could be something that looks like this. Okay. Remember, these are just general sketches. They could look similar but different, so keep that in mind. Y equals x squared. Well, that's a parabola. Parabola, well, they're shaped like this. Part D, y equals the square root of x. Well, that's a square root function. Square root function looks like this. Part E, y equals 1 over x. This is called an inverse function. Okay, and you have this part here on this side and this part here on this side. Y equals x squared. Well, it's going to start looking very similar to 1 over x, but 1 over x squared is going to have both sides positive. Think that through, because you're never going to end up with a situation. If you square your x, you're never going to end up with a negative y, because when you square a number, it's always going to be positive. Okay, letter G, we have the square root of 1 over x. Well, if we know what 1 over x looks like, the square root of it cannot be negative. We're not dealing with imaginary units, so it's only going to be this part of it, not this part. And it'll be tighter to the axes. Y equals sine of x. Well, sine goes through the origin and up like a wave, like that.